Hello to everyone in the audience and those watching at home. My name is Kevin Duffy and I'm the Director of Healthy Malden. And on behalf of Ron Cox, Director of Malden Access Television, and Ken Goldstein, President of the Metro North Chapter of the Mass Senior Action Council, our hosts of today's forum, welcome to the Metro North Mass Senior Action Council 2009 Malden Candidates Forum. The format will be divided into two segments, each lasting 1 hour in length. For the first segment, the candidates will be asked questions by our panel, comprised of our hosts, the Mass Senior Action Council. The specific subjects and questions were chosen by the Mass Senior Action Council and have not been shared nor cleared with any candidates or any of the organizers. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the question, followed by every other candidate having 1 minute to add their response. In the interest of presenting a fair forum, the audience in the hall has promised to remain silent. No cheers, no applause, no noise of any kind, except for right now as we welcome our candidates to the stage. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep. Good. Thank you. Thank you. Today's forum, showcasing the 6 candidates for Malden's 3 councilor-at-large positions, will be among incumbents Greg Lucy and Craig Spadafora, and challengers David D'Arcangelo, Jeffrey Donahue, Deborah Fallon, and Brian O'Boyle. In an order determined by random drawing just moments ago, we will begin with each candidate having 2 minutes to make an opening statement. And judging by the standing position here, Mr. Craig Spadafora gets to start with his opening statement. Pass the microphone, please. It's okay. Leave that here.
Thank you. Welcome, everybody. I want to first thank all the organizations who put this together, the people here who came out on this rainy afternoon, as well as everybody watching TV tonight, for the opportunity to come before the citizens and the residents of Malden to discuss, I think, and debate the ongoing issues of Malden. I have the opportunity to be councilor at large for the past 3 elections, 3 terms. It is an honor. Is that me?
Nope.
It is an honor to represent the citizens of Malden. I think in the last 4 years, we've come a long way as far as our ordinance changes, our regulations, our neighborhoods, but I don't think we're done. I think we're now facing some serious financial threats, not just Malden, but the entire Commonwealth, if not the nation. I would love the opportunity to continue to serve on this team. I'm the president this year. I wish there was more good news to report. Unfortunately, there's not. But I think what we need at the City Council is leadership, experience, as well as the ability to look and find new revenue sources, as well as efficiency. We cannot continue to tax the residents of this state and this community. We have to look for efficiencies, whether that's through technology, sharing of powers in City Hall, etc. I believe I could be that person to do that. I have a background in finance. I do that for a full-time job, and I would love the experience to go 2 more years to continue on this quest and make the city of Malden a great place to live. And now that I have 2 beautiful children, the goals have immediately changed myself. And I would be remiss without happy birthday to my son. Today is his 2nd year of birthday, so I'll use the kid for this one, but happy birthday. Thank you.
No applause.
Thank you. My name is Jeff Donahue. I'm a former Ward 4 councilor. I served 4 terms on the Malden City Council. I'm a lifelong resident of Malden. I'm married to my wife, Tina. We have 3 lovely children, 2 of them in the Malden school system. As Craig said, we need experience in this coming election. There's 6 great candidates up here. You know, it's been a long campaign. There's been a lot of paperwork going out there, people getting to try and delve into the issues to see what we're all about. What I bring to the council is that when I was on the council for 8 years, I was always not afraid to ask the tough questions, not afraid to stand up to the administration and make sure that the right thing was done for the people of Malden. If elected this year and you folks send me back there, I'll continue to do that. I always understood the mission of a councilor It's to voice the concerns of the citizens and the residents of Malden. I've never veered from that. 2004, I was the council president. I was the chairman of license 4 out of the 8 years I was up there. I was chairman of ordinance, chairman of cemetery committee. I know the ins and outs of Malden city government. And, he said it's time for experience. I have more experience than any other candidate up here on the city council. I had 4 terms up there. If you send me back there, I'd love to convey your issues to the city and never forget what my role is. I am your voice. I've done that in the past. I will continue to do that if you do elect me, and I'd appreciate one of your 3 votes on Election Day. Thank you very much.
No applause. Thank you. Brian O'Boyle.
Hello, my name is Brian O'Boyle, and I want to thank all of the organizations that welcomed us here today to debate the issues. I am a lifelong resident of Malden. I have 4 children, 4 boys. 3 of them go to the BB, 1 goes to Malden Catholic. I have a personally vested interest in making sure that our schools work properly and that our cities work and the city works properly, and all the services that are supposed to be provided to us actually are delivered for the way that we expect them to be delivered. I'm not a politician by trade. My background is in real estate brokerage and real estate development. However, over the past couple of years, it's been my opinion that we're on a very, very perilous course in this city. I think that with the theft at City Hall, that was an awakening for a lot of us to say there's something really, really going wrong here, and we need to take a look at it. We have issues that are coming up around, as Craig just said a moment ago, with the state actually cutting funding to the city. And because of my background in real estate brokerage and development, I believe I am the right person to actually get this city back on track again. And I appreciate your vote coming November 3rd. Tuesday is coming, and this goes out across the board for all candidates that are looking for office. You, the people, are the ones that are going to make the decision as to what happens with this city and what the direction we're going in. Thank you very much.
No applause, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Greg Lucy. I'm a current council at large in Malden. I was elected 2 years ago after serving 6 years on the school committee from Ward 5. I think that background alone gives me a great opportunity to see both sides of the city. Half the budget is school money, or close to half budget is money. So the schools are so important to have to flourish, which I think they are. We've come a long way. I can bring that perspective on the city council, having sit there for 6 years on the school committee. When I was elected council, unusual, I was selected to be chairman of finance, which is very unusual for first-term council, and I was reappointed this year for a second term. And the last 2 years, even though I hadn't done it before, but from what I understand as far as the city goes, 2 very difficult years. You get to see the budget up close. There's a lot of tough decisions. Some of them weren't so popular in the beginning, but you get an idea how the city functions. I'm a Malden business owner, lifelong resident of Malden. I'm married. I have a 16-year-old son that goes to Malden High School. And, I've just been around the city for a long time. One of the things about local government is you can get to know the candidates. And way prior to running for office, I've been involved in the city, whether it's Little Leagues or St. Rocco's or the Golden Tornado Club or just a whole bunch of different organizations in the city before I ran for office. So it was, a lot of people got to see me up close personally. We are local officials. We're not down in Washington where you vote for us or read news clippings and that's what you see. You see the person that's in the community. I'm very accessible. My business is in Malden. Unfortunately or fortunately, my routine's very similar. So even when I get to the square in the morning, the traffic guard knows if I'm running late or not. So I'm available to everybody. I see a lot of people. I talk to many people. I have a good feel for the community, a good feel for the people. And, I'd love for one of your 3 votes again in November. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Deborah Fallon. I want to thank the Mass Senior Action Council, Kevin Duffy, MATV, for helping to make this forum possible, because it's a terrific opportunity for people to see the difference in the candidates. And I am a very different candidate, not just because of the obvious reasons that I'm the only woman standing here on the stage and running for this office, but because of where I come from. I'm the daughter of former school committee member and mayor of Malden, Tom Fallon. I'm the niece of State Representative Christopher Fallon. And my sister is the first woman named city solicitor here in this community after having worked in that capacity as an assistant for 11 years. And I'm proud of my family history because my family and I, along with my siblings, have contributed a lot of charitable works. We've helped to create programs that are innovative, that are still serving people in this community today, including Portal to Hope, which is an organization that serves crime victims here. And I've been running that organization for the last 14 years here in Malden. And as I go around and walk the neighborhoods, I know that crime, public safety, is a leading problem. It's a leading concern that citizens are communicating. I hear the voters. I'm coming from a background where public safety is a forte, and I'm looking to put forth an offer to the public and ask for your input. Another big thing that going around talking with the voters is that voters don't feel that they have a voice. When I asked people where we had a 12% voter turnout, why didn't you go to vote? They don't feel that their vote counts. My candidacy is about empowering people. It's about ensuring that every one of your ideas is heard up on the Malden City Council. Thank you.
Good afternoon, and I too would like to thank the Mass Senior Action Council, Kevin and Healthy Malden, MATV, and Krista Petro, and thank all of you folks for coming, the most important people here. I want to thank my wife Lisa, who's here in the audience, Ward 5 School Committee woman, and several other elected officials that are here. My name is David Darkangelo, and I'm running for City Councilor at large because of my experience, my ideas, and approach. And I think that any one of those points is worthy of a vote for me on Tuesday, November 3rd, this Tuesday. We have some great candidates up here. Personally, I like them all. Let's find out the differences. I'm anxious to get to the questions, okay? But I have a unique set of experiences that none of these candidates have, okay? I've worked for our state senator, Richard Tassay. I was his municipal liaison to 5 cities and towns. So I know how other cities and towns solve some of the problems that Malden is facing right now. I've worked for 4 different governors. I've worked in the governor's office, and I've been on the planning board here locally. So I have a lot of experience in government that I want to put to work for you. I've also held executive level positions. I'm on the board of directors for EMARC, which is one of the largest human service providers in this area. I'm also chairman of the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind Rehabilitation Council. I was appointed by the governor to serve on that. So I have the experience. That is worthy of your vote. I also have some ideas. If you've seen my ideas, I want to take the wall out downtown. I want to replace it with steps to try to bring people back downtown. So again, I have the experience, the ideas, and the approach. I want to open up city government, make all the public documents available online for you folks. So I have the experience, the ideas, and approach. Again, I'm looking for one of your 3 votes this Tuesday. So again, thank everybody. Ron, this is a great set. Whoever did the set.
Thank you. It is now my pleasure to introduce Ken Goldstein, the president of the Metro North chapter of Mass Senior Action Council, who will introduce our panel.
Thank you. Before I do that, just a moment, I want to say that 2 people work without which this never could have taken place. And one of those people is Howie McGowan, who is, if you'd stand up for a second, Howie.
You can talk on it.
And the other is Pam Edwards. I don't know where Pam is right now. Is she there? Okay. Of course, from their Mass Senior Action Council, both of them. Now, let's go on. Joanne Raposa has the first question, and she will ask it of the first candidate. I would suggest to the candidates that they give their names. And then after the first person gets 2 minutes, each person, if they choose, can have 1 more minute to rebut or add or subtract or whatever.
And the candidates are welcome to sit and be comfortable on the stools.
Okay, that's fine.
Right where you are, ma'am, that's fine.
Me. All right, this question basically is for all of you. Again, my name is Joanne Reposa. I'm a resident at Suffolk Manor, have been for 14 years. And I'm also the vice president at Mass Senior Action Council State Board. So I'm here tonight to ask, what are some of the specific steps you would take to improve the downtown area? And and how would you bring new businesses to, to help with the revenue? We need business, we need shops.
Thank you. Craig, question is yours.
Joanne, thank you. And I've answered this question, I believe, 3 or 4 times, and unfortunately, I think we are slow to progress on what's happening in the square. The first thing is I would employ to the residents and everybody in this room and everybody watching, my job right now as City Council President, as well as an active member of the City Council, while I would love to sit here and say we have an open checkbook and we could put new roads in and sidewalks and period lighting and tear down City Hall, I'm not going to lie, that's not going to happen anytime soon. My job right now is to make sure we have firemen, policemen, and teachers in the schools. It's no argument right now that 9C cuts, which are mid-year budget cuts coming down from the state, are going to really probably cut to the bone soon. It will probably hurt service organizations first. That's what the state's telling us, and that's what I'm telling the residents. But as far as what I would do, the first thing I think is everybody compares this to Melrose, which I think is it's too much of a myth. We're not Melrose, and I'm glad we're not Melrose. Parking is always a premium. I think if you have parking, you can bring the residents down. We have a lot of great restaurants. Since I became council, I think we've made great strides. We're already starting to change the period lighting. There's new restaurants in there. We have this building as an anchor. The big question is what to do with City Hall. Should we tear it down? Again, we discuss this in the City Council probably every 2 weeks. We would love to build a new City Hall. It would probably cost $10 million. We share services with the police station as far as that. There's another $1 million. I think right now is we have to work on parking problems, which they're cleaning up the parking lot next door to us. We have to have the MRA work with local residents to bring in loans for the small businesses to clean up their stores. As well as, I would like to see, there's a farmer's market in Malden. I know there's one. I didn't know where it was, I'll be honest with you. I think we should close the street down on Sunday afternoon and have that. That's short-term solution. Big-term solution is, of course, we take down City Hall.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. 1 minute for each other candidate.
Thank you. What I would say, I'd continue to do what I had always done on the City Council. I was the lead sponsor to make sure that we did the authorized the mayor to do the land swap deal to move the YMCA up to its current location. I was the lead sponsor to authorize the mayor to keep the Department of Education in Malden Square. That would have been upwards of 1,500 jobs that walked out of Malden Square if we did not keep them down here. We put a request for proposal together, sent it to the state. There was three finalists, and we ended up getting them here. We kept them in Malden Square. I was the sponsor that came up with the angle parking for Exchange Street that came up with 35 additional parking spaces. These are all facts. These are things you can go to City Hall, pull the paper, and see the name of the person that sponsored the paper. I was the one that worked with the Redevelopment Authority and the Mayor's office to bring in All Seasons Table, Massimo's Restaurant, Hugh O'Neill's, and what's the other one? Exchange Street Bistro. These are all things that collaboratively together, you try and get the message out. Malden is a great place to come. We're not going to knock down City Hall. Let's make no mistake. It's $21 to $27 million. It's not come down, but there's $5 million in an account right now for street and sidewalk repairs that Congressman Mamaki got us, and we're not using.
Thank you, Joanne, for that question. I actually put out my plan for Malden Square and the city back over the summer. What has to happen in Malden Square is we have to continue with what we call the RIO, the Residential Incentive Overlay. The city, in its wisdom, back in the 1980s, came up with an overlay for Malden Square where we appointed specific sites to be designated with zoning variances. Those RIO properties were actually put through and into zoning law. In order to develop those sites, we have to attract private money. The people that have that money are only going to go where city government is friendly to them. That means that what we need to do as a city is offer incentives such as tax increment financing. This will allow businesses and individuals, high net worth individuals, to come in and look at Malden as opposed to any other place in the country, or the world for that matter, invest multi-million dollars. This is the type of development we need to put people back to work.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. The IRO that Brian speaks to, we had the recent Malden Vision. It started in 2008, where over 1,000 people attend the meetings. One of the significant outcomes of that was the people didn't want the IRO. They didn't want the 12-story buildings. They wanted 6 stories or less. But that aside, I think getting back to what Jeff is saying, Malden Square is almost like a puzzle, and you're putting pieces together. You put the restaurants together. You put this building downtown. You keep the DOE over here. That goes in, in place of the Y. The Y just moves up. As long as I can remember, people talk about Jordan Marsh being down here, and those days are gone. People shop differently now. They shop online. They shop in malls. So it's almost as if Malden won't become a retail center. Retail's along Route 60. What you're going to have is office space, some apartment buildings, some small retail stores, sandwich shops, that sort of thing. That's what realistically Malden Square is going to be. You're not going to be attracting a major retail store down here because it doesn't make sense. People shop differently now.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Joanne, long term, of course, we need to develop the downtown area. Short term, people are hurting in this community. They're just hurting. We're in an economic crisis. Unemployment is at the highest rate that it's been in since the early 1980s. Small business is what's going to turn the community around. We have people in our communities that have great talent. I think we need to be supporting small business startups in the community. We have to rely on community to support our businesses. And I think, again, small business is where we need to go, short-term, even long-term. That's what's going to turn this fiscal crisis around. But I'm with you, Craig, Councilor Spadafora. We have a fire department that has a roof leak that has not been fixed for over 10 years. We need to put money into the fire department before we're doing anything with the downtown area. Those are our public safety workers. Our manpower at the fire department has gone from 164 people to 114 just a couple of weeks ago. Thank you.
Thank you.
Joanne, thanks for that question. And folks, I have a very specific answer to downtown. Whether we like it or not, the MBTA Malden Center is the face of our city for 3 million people a year that come through it. That's the front door of our city. Right now, what do you see? You see a brick wall there. We need to add these steps. With my plan, that will be funded 80% by a federal grant. So the city of Malden will only have to pay 20 cents on the dollar. Let's put these steps. We'll bring people back downtown. Okay, that's the first thing. Because all the big business owners I've spoken with the executive director of the Stoneham Theater, trying to bring a theater back downtown. The other people that I've spoken with have all indicated they need foot traffic. We have 3 million people a year going through that station. If we can get even a fraction of them to come downtown, there's your foot traffic. That's the first thing. Second thing we need to do that's very particular, we need to establish like a visitors type of bureau where we can get these people downtown. We have a brand new $30 billion Department of Education building right next door that houses 500 people. If we can fill up all the other spots downtown, now the people are downtown, now we can attract business.
Thank you, David. The next question will be to Jeffrey Donahue.
Joanne Brochard.
Good afternoon, and thank you for being here. My question is a long-standing one about public transportation. Mostly I'm speaking about being able to be here at this building. Now we have this large, beautiful complex. A lot of elderly cannot get here. No, they cannot walk from Malden Square to short distance. If you walk in, good. It'd be your problems. No, you can't. So I'm wondering what you gentlemen, a lady, could help us decide on what we can do with public transportation, especially to come here. There are a lot of programs people could come to. A lot of people sit home because they really cannot make it. I mean, when you're 80 or 79 or my age, whatever. No, really. But we could do a lot more here. We could have a lot more people here. but how are they going to get here?
Thank you.
You know?
Jeffrey?
Thank you. Great question. Hindsight's 2020. I remember being on the council when we talked about the MBTA routes in Malden Square, and at the time there was one in front of where the old Granada Theater was, down where the dollar store is at the beginning of the square, and the other one was out here. But it would just zip up through Malden Square, no stops in Malden Square, and there was nothing planned to come into this site. So they asked the MBTA to come down and do a comprehensive plan of where they could put stops around Malden Square to keep the buses out of it, because there was no stops in the square. And like you say, there was not a place like this for folks to come. I think that we put the carrot before the horse, or the horse before the cart, however you say that. I think that we really need to have them back here and give us a comprehensive plan and see if we made the right decision. And I sat on that. Looking back, if we had known this was going to come here at the time, it would have been a terrible decision, and I think it was. They put outlying stops down on Route 60 and on Florence Street, and they say it's literally a 150-yard walk. But like you say, when you're 75, 80, 90, some folks are centurions coming up here, it doesn't work. So I really think it's something that should be looked back into, to bring them back down and say, hey, we had no idea we were going to have a senior center here. And if you saw the problem that they had before with the trucks double parked out here, we made commercial zones for the trucking, buses backed up and down Pleasant Street, beeping their horns, going 30 miles an hour. It was more of a danger back then because it wasn't, we don't have the officers to enforce what goes on in Malden Square. We have Doug Eisner that walks the square all day, but he can't chase a bus down the square when they're doing 30 miles an hour. So, I think has to be looked at again, and I really do believe a stop needs to be put out here. But again, I was part of not the decision-making, but I was part of the group that walked around with them and said, can you come up with a more comprehensive plan that works for Malden Square? And I think it should be brought up again since this building is here. Thank you.
Brian O'Boyle, 1-minute follow-up.
Transportation for our elderly citizens is critical. It's not just a matter of driving a car, which now becomes a matter of whether or not the elderly, every time a major accident happens with an elderly driver, we go to try to take their licenses away. In effect, what's happening is we have elderly people who, a lot of them don't even want to drive. However, we don't have an adequate enough transportation system in order to make it feasible for them to give up their license voluntarily. Currently, Somerville has a company called SCM that offers Paul's Ride. And this is in addition to the MBTA. And what this does is it allows the elderly citizens to get from where they're currently staying or where they are to a doctor's appointment or to a friend's house or to shopping. And also certainly to the Malden Senior Citizen Center. For an elderly person not to be able to have transportation, it puts them at the mercy, really, of family, friends, volunteers.
Time.
Thank you.
When they first built this building, I was curious to even know how the elderly would get here, whether it be parking, whether it be available. And from what I understand, the numbers are phenomenal down here. I mean, anyone that has seen this building, it shows that the city can still do some good even in tough times, for a segment of the population. I can understand why the buses don't run down Pleasant Street, because it's awful congested with the wide sidewalks, confusion, cars parked, trucks parked. Anyway, if some help has to come, it would have to come from the state level. The good thing is I know a lot of the elderly are still mobile. People think of the elderly having to take, they still drive. I'm sure what happens is 4 or 5, they do carpools. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to solve everything for all the problems. I think it was a great thing putting this building up. It certainly beats the downtown city hall with no windows on a bottom floor that's damp and musty. So now I guess the thing is what we need to do is maybe work on that. And, again, I don't have the answer for you tonight, but, we're certainly more than happy to work on it. Thank you.
Time. Thank you.
I think that it comes down to communication, really, and collaboration. Again, it goes back to what I was just talking about. The community, members of our community have a lot of different ideas. We are a community wealthy with talent and ideas and people who want to contribute. And in fact, someone from the cab company that I had met with along the campaign trail, was talking about why can't the city collaborate with even the cab companies here to be able to provide some type of services in that way. So I think it's, again, as Councilor Lucy had mentioned, there's funding that has to come down from the state. I mean, the MBTA, it requires collaboration, it requires communication, and I think that we need a strong advocate who's going to stand up and advocate for people the elderly, the disabled, and others who are not mobile, and there are many who are not, in order to be able to get out to not just the senior center, but to the downtown area, again, helping to support our small businesses and turning our economic crisis around. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Good question. I just looked it up. Our assessment each year to the MBTA is $3.4 million. That means that the city of Malden is paying the MBTA $3.4 million a year, okay? So for that money, guess what? We'll direct them where to put the bus stops and what schedules to use. When working in the Senate, I did that. I've moved bus stops. I've changed bus routes. So I know how to do that for you. I will get that done, because one of the things I think we need to do, having been on the planning board, I have the experience. Malden was set up as an east to west city. The east to west transportation between Easton Ave and Route 60 and Salem Street goes very well. There used to be a subway car. There used to be the line that came and brought people downtown. So when you took the buses away, you took the customers away. The first question was, how are we going to bring people back downtown and revive the downtown? Well, we're not going to do it by taking their customers away. So I think we need to bring the buses back downtown. We need to work with the MBTA. I know how to do that. I have a track record doing that. We'll work with the MBTA. We'll get the buses back down so that the seniors can come enjoy this great building.
One more reminder, please turn off cell phones. Thank you.
Thank you. I think it's a great question, too, and I think it goes back to the original question, the square. Regardless of what is happening in this building, the buses will bring the people here to shop as well. But it goes back to parking. You need a place, because not all the elderly citizens are driving a bus here. There's parking. You have to have parking part of the situation, as well as the buses. Regardless if they're going down this street or this street, there's got to be a place for them to pull over, adequate parking, so they can help the seniors off the bus. Most of the seniors need some assistance maybe getting off the bus. I know the handicap assisted most of these buses. You need a place to put them. The last thing we want to do is put a bus back on Pleasant Street, and we back up traffic so somebody comes down here and they don't want to come back because it takes a half hour. Everybody knows how long it takes to drive through the city now. So I think the issue is, can we work with the state to come back with the buses? Yes. But also, we need to bring back some new bus shelters. I know up in Rolling Green and Forestdale, they cut the bus routes up there. Seniors were telling me there's only 1 or 2 buses, they can't do their shopping. And then when they're waiting for their shopping or the buses to come in, there's no more of these shelters. They did put some on Exchange Street. Council Donahue was part of that. They want to put another one back here in the middle of the square. I've been working with the MBTA.
Time.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question will be for Brian O'Boyle.
Thank you, and thank you all for being here. My question to the councilors and the candidates we are concerned about the health care in Malden, especially after the closing of the Malden Hospital in McFadden Manor. My question to you then is, how would you improve access to health care in the city of Malden? Thank you.
Thank you, George. This is also part of the previous question. The citizens that need health care the most are our elderly citizens, and they're also the lowest income of us, of the people that live in the city. We need to be able to support the senior citizens in getting to their appointments. Right now we have vans that bring people to their appointments, but they're always packed. What we need to do is we need to provide more vans, not only to people's doctor's appointments, but also for other locations other than doctors. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could just take the McFadden Manor question first. I was on the council. I actually supported the idea that Geriatric Authority get one last shot at keeping McFadden open. I knew they were going to have a tough time with it, but I thought we went that far with McFadden. We might as well go the extra step. It wasn't like the city was going to give them a blank check. They would have to get, as you know, George, certain points, or certainly Howard, to get to certain numbers, and then they would get the money further. But I thought it was a worthwhile endeavor. I supported it. As far as health care, you're right. There's no Malden Hospital. Health care is changing all over. It's changing. You ask President Obama what's his biggest fight now. It's besides Afghanistan, it's getting some sort of sensible health care plan in. So it's not just a Malden problem. It's a problem all over. Again, you have to get to the appointment somehow, and there's some available transportation, but not probably a heck of a lot. But again, everything comes down to funding. The city certainly can't do it on its own. We don't have those resources. You need the state. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think what happened to Malden Hospital and the fact that we didn't advocate enough to keep the hospital here is a disgrace. I think what happened to McFadden Manor is an absolute disgrace. We had funding in for that nursing home, and what happened to the money? I work on site at the Lawrence Memorial Hospital. That's where one of Portal to Hope's offices is. And I know that that Hallmark Health, for example, is willing to bring services into the community. They were just here with the flu shots. So, again, I think this is all about collaboration. I keep going back to the fact that we have a community that can support each other. I think that you're talking, George, about a few things, but also a national problem. A national problem of being able to have people afford health care and access it. Even in Massachusetts, where we're required to have health care, there are people still struggling through unemployment, through lesser employment,
Time.
lesser income.
Thank you.
That minute goes by quick. So, direct answer to your question. Okay, we have a great place down on Canal Street, Cambridge Health Alliance. One of the challenges is you can't get there that well. So, as a couple of candidates alluded to, we need to build the transportation system to be able to accommodate that. That's the first thing. The second thing is it's an economic development opportunity. I think to put some type of facility, maybe not a full-blown hospital, but some type of clinic in the square here, that would be a great driver. And then you can have more of the diagnostic stuff over on Canal Street, more of the stuff you need extensive testing for and things like that. So I really view it as an economic development opportunity, but it goes back to access, it goes to transportation. So what I was saying previously, I think if we build our transportation, we don't have to spend more money, if we just move some money around. We have a great senior shuttle, okay, if we can build that program, and I have the experience in transportation. I helped run the Commonwealth's second largest mid-sized bus company, so I have that experience, I can make that happen.
Dr. Craig.
Thank you. Great question. 1 minute to answer, probably a national plague right now. Healthcare. When you mean access, I think you mean several things. One is affordability and actually physically getting there. Physically getting there, I think everybody addressed the challenges. It's a funding mechanism. It's a busing. It's not even a busing issue. Sometimes it's actually the equipment to take somebody. Some people can't get in a van. I think you have this opportunity here when they were designing this building. I think there's ample space in here to have a clinic. I think there's ample space. Maybe have them come here on a regular basis. It's downtown. There's access. I would go one step further, though. I think along with Healthy Malden, you have to get ahead of the problem. This is a great building. We should use it. Have walking campaigns, better diet and exercise. I see the dancers class going on. You have to make healthcare start in the beginning, when you're in the 40s, the 30s, your 20s. I think when you say access, it's just not affordability. It's also accountability. We just can't wait till the problems arise. We have to get ahead of the problems. Now, the city's not going to do it on its own. We need collaboration. But when you say access, it's a big word. I think the easiest way and fastest method, have a clinic put in here.
Thank you. I was actually on the council when they made the decision, Malden Hospital, when Hallmark Health walked away. I walked the picket lines up there with the employees up there. We were not happy about that. They were given tax breaks, and they still walked away from the city. We should investigate, A, if we're getting that money back that they were still getting as a hospital. But Hallmark Health is also down here. Transportation is a big problem. What I did when I was on the council, I put a request for proposal out for graduate housing, which was doctors, from universities that were going to build something in downtown Malden with an urgent care facility. We had 3 finalists. We got to the final finalists, and the market did not carry it. It was going to be right at the end of Malden Square, accessible to the T, where seniors would be able to get on there, urgent care facility, open 24 hours a day, and we lost it because the market didn't carry it. What I would do if elected back to office is reinvestigate that and see if there's still a flavor for that out there. There's a ton of undergraduate students. We have the best hospitals in the nation in the Boston area. And the fact that we had them frothing at the bit to come here with our accessibility to downtown Boston, you would have them here training and learning as well as an urgent care facility right in Malden Square. It's a shame that it didn't go through. It fell off the table, but we should really look into that again.
The next question will be for Greg Lucy.
Go ahead, Bill.
Bill Regan, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Lucy, what is your position on pay-as-you-flow program if the fee is defeated on the ballot, and what is your plan to make up for the lost revenue and continue the trash removal program?
Geez, I thought that question would come on the newspaper side. But I'm going to answer it eventually. I supported pay-as-you-throw when it came before the city council. And at the time, I think it was a program that probably a little of us knew what the outcome would be. We voted for it. I looked at it as not only a revenue stream for that year, but continuous revenue stream. And, it balanced the budget that year, and we certainly saw, as chairman of the Finance Committee, I saw the good financial sense it made this year when we had that money to plug holes when the state shortchanged us by $6 million. $6 million, the state gave us less this year than last year. Now, you get a city budget and try to make up $6 million, it's awful difficult. It's not a matter of buying less paper clips or streamlining things. It's real money. And the program itself has worked beyond my wildest dreams. The city's cleaner. People are buying less bags. Originally, they had estimated $2.5 million in bags. There's only 1.7, but we got to take off over $1 million on the other end from the disposal company. So it is working. On trash day, on trash day, you can go down any street in the city, and it's a lot cleaner. Matter of fact, yesterday I was coming down the Fellsway off of, I think it's Roosevelt Circle, coming down the Fellsway that leads to Pleasant Street. Anyone that has a question next Tuesday when they go vote whether they should vote for the pay-as-you-throw, go down that street, because yesterday, which was Tuesday, was trash day in Medford, and it looked exactly how the streets in the city looked. It was messy. There was just all sorts of barrels, no recycle bins, what we used to do in Malden. For the environment's sake, for future generations, it's the way to go. Malden's not the only city that's doing it. Most cities are doing it. In the end, if that passes, there's nowhere else to go but personnel. Deb has mentioned about the fire department. The fire and the police will feel it this year. The schools will next year, because we won't have the money to do things.
Time. Thank you.
I don't like the way the pay-as-you-throw program was implemented. People turned out at public hearings. The one at the BB school, by the way, was packed. It was mobbed. And people cried loudly against the program. People want to have a say in what government does. Yes, we have to be creative in generating new revenue. Absolutely we do. Is it a creative way to generate revenue? Sure. Are there other pay-as-you-throw programs that cities have implemented that work just as well? Absolutely. Do they cost $2 per bag? No, they don't. No one, especially not me, the granddaughter of a Malden police officer and the great-granddaughter of a firefighter and the daughter of two people who are teachers, wants to see any city worker, especially not our public safety workers, laid off. There are other ways that we can educate people as to how to recycle. I'm an environmentalist. Education is the key to ending a lot of problems, and I think we shouldn't be punishing people or forcing them on a program.
Thank you.
Okay, two things. The City of Malden's budget is $168 million a year. Our total trash obligation is less than $3 million a year. I think we can find a 2% in the budget so we don't have to balance the budget on the backs of homeowners and taxpayers who are paying for bags. It's not the best system, by the way. We should go with a system similar to what the city of Everett's doing. It's called Recycle Bank. It's a single stream approach where you don't have to separate out your recyclables. Environmentalists prefer the single stream approach. And it's better because you enjoy the rewards. They're your recyclables. You should get paid back for them. And guess what? With Recycle Bank, there's an option. If you want to donate the money back to the city, you can do that too. But it's your recyclables. It's your money. You should have the ability to have that first. All this other that we're going to have to lay people off and this, that, and the other, every city in town is going to have to lay people off. It's a bad budget time. I know that. Hard decisions are going to have to be made. I don't want to lay people off either. That's not what it's about. It's your money. It's your recyclables. You should have to say the way it was done was not done well. It was not good public policy. Let's repeal it and do it again.
No clapping. Thank you. Down to the end, Craig. Thank you.
Count, I apologize. This question, I think, has been on everybody's minds. I think there's two parts of this question. One is, the way it was done, was it forced upon the residents? Yes. Did I vote for it? No. But I didn't vote for it because I didn't think it was that. I voted against it as far as pay-as-you-throw because I felt that we should have been able to trim a little bit more fat in our budget. There is not $5 million in the budget. I just wanted our incentive, if anything, to say to the residents, we've cut as much as we can before we go to the residents. And I felt the mayor didn't do that. And that's why I voted against it. However, environmentally, it is the best thing to do for this city. Everybody in the council admit it's worked better than anybody else's belief. My compromise, though, was when I told the mayor as well, give everybody one free trash bag a week. After that, you charge. Everett, I talked to Mayor DeMaria the other day. It's not working. The reason why, commodity prices on the recyclables have gone down dramatically. We get one free bulk item a week. They charge $20 now. They're looking at our model. I would be for changing it so you get one free bag a week so that still encourages recycling.
Thank you, Craig.
Thank you. Has it made me recycle better? Absolutely. Was my voice heard? Absolutely not. We were all invited to a meeting after the bullet was out of the gun to talk about why we have to implement this program. I've said this for the past 8 years, 10 years, the 8 years I was on the council, how we generate that revenue stream. We have a redevelopment authority. In the state of Massachusetts, it's a handful of them left. Everyone turns it to an economic development department. You have duties that they're doing up there that should be done by other city department heads that we're already paying. There's probably eight or nine people up there making more money or comparable to the mayor. That's wrong. They're all in our pension system, so we have to buy them when they walk out the door. Have you seen this community redeveloped the way that you're happy with? I'm not. If we streamline that and we put them out of business, make it an economic development department, all the garages in the downtown area, which were rightfully Malden's, come back to ours, and they bring in $3 million a year, and they say they don't make a profit. If they're full every day and they're bringing in $3 million a year and they're not making a profit, there's a problem. We should be running them. They're our garages. It's our money. We should not be paying for trash bags. And, you know, were you heard? I was not.
Thank you.
I am against the pay-as-you-throw program. The people that were hurt the most from this, the elderly, the disabled veterans, and the disabled. The reason why I say that is because when they took and they voted this into legislation, as Ms. Lucy said, what happened was they forgot about the disabled veterans. These are the people that get abatements because they've been hurt in the service to this country. Never considered. They own property and they pay taxes in this city. The elderly, people making less than $17,000 a year, but they own a home in the city, weren't even considered. The disabled people that are blind, that are getting abatements from the city, no one talked to them. There are 2 widows in this city whose husbands gave their lives in the line of duty, were never even consulted as to whether or not, or given any break or consideration when it came to this particular tax. If not them, how much less us? The families, if you have children, you're paying more than anybody. What I'm in favor of...
Time. Thank you. The next question will be for Deb Fallon.
Hi, I'm Rose Rizzo.
Hi,
I
Rose.
live at 630 Salem Street in Malden. The question is, at this time, services are needed more than ever. Cities in cutting programs and jobs. What would be your proposal for the city budget, and at the same time, how can we keep needed services?
That's the perfect question for me, Rose, and thanks for it. I run a nonprofit organization that operated on $173,000 here in Massachusetts last year. We served 903 people who were victims of violent crime. 358 of those people were from Malden. Our $2,000 in Malden, $2,000 that we receive annually, was not returned back to us, yet we still were able to keep services available. When people tell me that, you know, we don't have enough money to provide services, I don't buy that. I think that there is some streamlining that needs to be done in our city government first, again, before going out and taxing people in order to be able to provide for these valuable city services. The main service is public safety. The main complaint from people is public safety in this community. That's a huge concern, especially with the break-ins and the violence, the street violence that we've had. You know, there are services that go beyond city government services that include places like Portal to Hope, that include Mystic Valley Elder Services, that include the Bread of Life, that include TRICAP and housing for families. And again, our community, we need to be able to support these agencies to be able to continue to provide services and to generate new revenue. I understand well the fact that grant monies are drying up. Federal grants, they're drying up. We can't make any promises that a federal grant's going to come in here and provide for any particular program. But we need to be persistent and collaborate and rely on the talent of our community members to be able to bring forward new revenue, to be able to look at foundations to bring money into the community, to be able to look at grants and continue, again, to collaborate and look at the ideas from our members in order to be able to go out to the community to generate a new revenue stream. There are unbelievable ideas here in this community.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a great question. And one of the reasons why you should elect me city councilor at large is because I'm very clear on the role of city councilor at large. And that is to take all the ordinances in the city of Malden as they come, all right? And the most important one that you face each year is the city budget. As a member of the Malden Planning Board, I voted no during my tenure more than all of the other members combined. Okay? I say that, and that's important because I'm not afraid to say no, and I'm not afraid to stand up and ask the questions that need to be asked. Okay? These folks have not voted against the budget. If you elect me city councilor at large, if the budget doesn't include what you want, because I'm very clear, if you elect me, you're my boss, and I work for you. So if it doesn't include what you want, I will vote no, and we'll work through it, and we'll get it done.
Back to Craig.
Well, the first thing I would like to say is I have 56,000 bosses. If I can get 56,000 people to agree on anything, I'll vote for it. That will never happen. The concern with the budget is there are things the government does that nobody wants to pay for. Sidewalks, streets, water pipes, cutting the grass, fire services. Nobody wants to pay for that. That's the job of the government. However, there's a pie that is this big, ladies and gentlemen. It's 100 cents. And we take education, we take insurance, we take public safety, and all of those things are important. And some things are more important than other people. Education might be more important than senior services. However, I think what we have to do is not only continue to attract new business to Malden, that's easier said than done, but that's a lagging indicator. That will take years for that money to come in the pie. What we need to do is streamline our city services. Maintain our service, but streamline them. Technology might be a need for it. Maybe you have to use less with more. City Hall, 20 years ago there was probably 250 people working there, no more. But we have to streamline the systems. Health insurance is one of the biggest growth factors in the city budget.
Time. Thank you.
Thank you. Streamline city government. Great idea. Goes back to my last answer, the Malden Redevelopment Authority. Community development block grants, which pay for a lot of these programs that we're all talking about here. The last time that was looked into was 3.5 years ago when I was on the city council. I asked HUD for an independent audit on some misappropriation of funds. They found it to the tune of $470,000 that they had to pay back with non-federal funds to the city of Malden. These are the folks running our programs with your tax dollars. $470,000. Trips to Disneyland, cookouts, lobster bakes. That's how you streamline city government. You hold people accountable. You hold their feet to the fire. Nobody wants to cut public safety. I was the one councilor that took the lead to go head-to-head with the fire commissioner at the time when they cut manpower. You know, you have to come up with creative ways to find money. It's, you know, the budget is a pie, like Councilor Spatafora says. But you have to delve into that budget, and you have to streamline things. You have to give additional duties to folks. You might have to come up with a furlough program where they take a week off without pay. I'm in the union. We get laid off all the time. There's times that, you know, we go 4 or 5 months without jobs, but you get by. Well, my time's up again.
Thank you.
Thank you. The budget, I don't know if you've seen it online. I'm not an accountant, but I've seen a lot of spreadsheets. I can't figure it out. I mean, there's money all over the place. As a matter of fact, it's so screwed up that when $500,000 was missing, nobody even knew it, even the head of the finance committee. It took an outside agency to find it. What we need to do is find out where the waste in government is. I think we should go out and we should do a time audit on all the executives working for City Hall and find out how long it actually takes them to do their job. and then pay them accordingly. Jeff's brought up a good point. A furlough, I think we should furlough anyone making over $50,000 a year. The people the rank and file that are doing the work, that are showing up every day, these are the people that are the backbone of the city. We can't, and they can't afford to get laid off. Let's face it. As far as what to do for the next schedule.
Time. Sorry.
Thank you.
Just so I can quickly respond to the $500,000 not known existed. You didn't see it there because it's not in the budget, by the way. So it had nothing with me to do on the finance not seeing that was gone. If just a quick, and not going to be able to do it in a minute, the budget process with the city, it's something we start in January. Governor Patrick, or whatever the governor is, he submits a budget in January. You might get a couple months later, the House gets it, they change it, gets to the Senate, they change it, goes back and they agree on it. That's why the city goes, we're waiting on that. Last year, $53 million. The year before it was $59 million. We wait on final numbers once they get it. That's why we probably 2 weeks before June 30th last year that we had to pass the budget by a balanced budget. That's why it takes so long. So it's not a matter of just saying no to a budget. You can't just pick out one line item and say, I'm not going to vote for that whole budget for one line item. There is a process to it. We talk to the mayor. We talk amongst ourselves. There's changes even from when the mayor submits his budget. So it's not as simple as just saying, I don't like one thing, so I'm not going to vote the whole budget. And I don't think to me, that'd be the coward way of doing things. Thank you.
Our final question will be for David D'Arcangelo. Howard, microphone.
They
Thank you.
saved the best for last.
Okay. I have $1 million question to ask. It really affects the budget. Would you support the transfer of the City of Malden health insurance plan to the Commonwealth under the Patrick Murray Municipal Health Insurance Reform Plan?
Yes, I absolutely would. That will save us millions of dollars, and that was actually offered way back when for an administration that I worked for. So yes, absolutely, we can save money doing it. And I'd like to use the balance of my time to just explain to you one thing going back about the budget, okay? This is the Department of Revenue's figures from the Division of Local Services. These aren't my numbers, okay? The City of Malden has 1,985 employees. City of Medford, very similar size, okay, has 1,160 employees. We have 800 more employees than them, okay? Total number-wise, we have $11 million in general government spending. They have $3.5 million in general government spending. Again, this is Mass Department of Revenue, Division of Local Services. We can streamline that. I agree with Councilor Spatafora, and I understand what Councilor Lucy is saying, that you can't do the budget. It is an up or down vote at the end, though. That's the thing. The same thing with the school department budget. I know from my wife being on the school committee does their budget, and then it comes before the council. Okay? So if that school committee budget is too much and they're not sharing the pain just like all the other government is, then we'll have to take a tough vote on that. These are tough times. I understand that very well. Very, very well from my experience in government, okay? I've been in government for 15 years. I've worked on every level, in the executive and the legislative. I taught the Citizens Legislative Seminar up at the State House when I was in the State Senate. So I understand these processes very well. These are tough times. Tough choices need to be made. But it's your money. It's your money, and I want to protect that.
Thank you. That concludes the first segment of our candidates forum. Please enjoy these public service announcements. Portion of our candidates forum. For this portion, our panel will be comprised of members of the media. The questions have been compiled from Malden residents and have been chosen by the members of our panel. Again, the specific subjects and questions have not been shared nor cleared with any of the candidates or any of the organizers. Each candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the question and may be asked a follow-up question from our panel, in which case they will have an additional minute. Subsequent candidates may choose to address another candidate's response before answering their own question within their 2-minute limit. Finally, at the closing of the forum, each candidate will have 2 minutes to make a closing statement. Once again, it is my pleasure to reintroduce Ken Goldstein, the president of the Metro North chapter of the Mass Senior Action Council, who will introduce our media panel.
Thank you very much. Before I ask the question, I just want to remind... Oh, yeah, I didn't mic. Okay, thank you, George. that after the 4 o'clock hour, there'll be refreshments across the hall. So let me go to my question, and this follows through on a question that George asked earlier, and that is concerning the hospitals. Let me be very clear about this. We closed the Malden Hospital for the announced reason that the beds were not being occupied. Do you recall that? All right. Then now all the beds, or practically all the beds, are being used in the Malden, in the Melrose Wakefield Hospital. What happens if there is an emergency, such as the H1N1? How are we going to protect the people of our community of Malden in the fact that there are not enough beds available?
That question was to Craig Spatafor. There you go.
Can I hold the mic?
Yes, you may.
Thank you. Is it on? It's on. So the question is what to do now the beds are full in the Hallmark, correct? Wakefield? I just want to make sure I have the question correct.
The question was, what do we do if there's an emergency, given the fact that the hospital that we go to is filled?
Okay. Well, there's two parts to that question. One is, obviously, if there's an emergency, we don't have time to build a hospital. I mean, that's a given. We are lucky. The vicinity we live in, with probably the greatest hospitals in the world, are less than 7 miles from here. I know the Malden Board of Health is working right now on a plan not only for the schools but the city, given the situation, what's going on with the H1N1 virus. The question of more hospital spaces, that was asked at a meeting in BB with regard to the hospital site. Hallmark has ultimately said they did not make money at the hospital up there. They were not going to build a new facility. So maybe it's time to look for another partner. We do have Cambridge Health Alliance down on Canal Street. But as far as an emergency for that flu, I think we have to work with the city, the Malden Board of Health, as well as information on the website, because if this epidemic becomes what it's supposed to be, we wouldn't have the hospital beds right now anyways, even if we were building a new facility. So I think we have to have a plan, a call to action, and work with the schools, Healthy Malden, the Malden Board of Health, that if this does happen, what to do, when to do it, and we have to communicate that to the public. Thank you.
Follow-up? Nope. It's basically Craig's question. If there's a follow-up, if not, we'll move on. Okay. Next media question. We'll go to Jeff Donahue.
I'm Haley DeFilippis. I'm a reporter for the Blue and Gold for Malden High School. And my question is, as counselor at large, how do you see your relationship with the Malden schools?
Take this out. As counselor at large, my relationship with the Malden schools, well, my son attends Malden High School. My daughter is now in BB. I have another daughter that is in preschool. I've always been involved in the community, no matter whether it's working with a nonprofit group or doing fundraising, or we have road races every year. We do a lot of things community-based. The thing is, stay involved. Stay involved in your kids' lives. Get on the PTO if you have the time. Get on the PTO. Stay involved. Stay involved with your community, with your school committee members. As a ward counselor, I had a very good relationship with Mr. Iovino, but I tried to. You have to stay. If you're on the city council, it's very hard to get involved with the school issues. You can go to the football games. You can go to the rallies. You can do all that stuff. But that's really the task of the Malden School Committee, to run that. I don't claim to be an education guru. I never did when I was on the city council. I understood city government in Malden. But just stay involved. That's the best you can really do. Thank you.
Any follow-up? I'd like to ask the members of the media panel to introduce themselves as they offer up their questions. The next question will go to Brian O'Boyle.
Travis Anderson here from Boston.com. Brian, I'd be curious to know what your stance is on the proposed curfew ordinance pending in the council right now for youths 17 and under.
Thank you, Travis. I'm totally against it. I think it's a violation of these young children's constitutional rights to go wherever they want, whenever they want to go. There's a lot of people that have died fighting for that right. And when someone's 17 years old, they can join the service and they can fight for it themselves today. We're all over the world, Iraq, Afghanistan, fighting for this for other people in other countries, and I don't think we shouldn't have the temerity to think we can take it away from our own children. Thank you.
Follow-up? No. Sorry, when I ask for follow-up, it comes from the media panel. None? Then our next media panel question is for Greg Lucy.
My name's Natalie Miller. I'm the editor of the Malden Observer. My question is, how would you make the Malden Redevelopment Authority more accountable to the city councils on the community block grants and give more transparency on use of funds to the taxpayers?
She's out of the corner of my eye. I saw Jeff snapping his fingers. I think Jeff wished he had that because I know that's his rallying cry. It is kind of an odd situation with the MRA. I think I don't take as hard stance as Jeff does on many of the things they do. Some of the things they need to be watched a little bit. One of the things is that CDBG money, the council does vote on that. There is somewhat of a say on it. But we have the opportunity to also use it. I know you'll see a lot of, certain ward councils will get parks done, and there are some good things that comes out of that. And what the ward council will do is if there's a certain situation in his ward, he will go to the MRA and do what the process is to get the funding for whatever he needs to be done. Granted, that part of the budget, it probably could be handled by the city if the city wanted to take it on. There's no question about it. Just historically, the MRA, I believe they started in the 1950s. They came in Malden. Originally, it was just moving people around and that sort of thing. They certainly took on other things, and 50 years later, here we are. They're still there. They do a lot of good for the city. There is some accountability that they need to be taken. I know a couple of years ago when they did the audit, there was some issues that came about. In typical audit form, they do find different things that went on. They kind of raised a few eyebrows. They've cleaned that up, but a lot of it's federal government and money too. So the thing is, they're not robbing the store. They're not stealing all the money. The federal government wouldn't let that happen either. But there is some accountability. Couldn't there be more? There certainly should be, but that's up to the city council to do that. Thank you.
Is there a follow-up from our media panel? All right, I'd just like to remind the candidates that when you get your question, you can use your 2 minutes to address a previous question if there was something you really wanted to answer. The next question is for Deb Fallon.
Hi, Kevin Maculay from the Malden News. How are you? What should the city be doing right now to prepare for potential 9C emergency cuts?
That's a great question, and I don't have the magic wand to answer it, really. I mean, we don't even know what the 9C cuts right now are going to result in at this moment. As a director of a nonprofit organization that receives state funding right now through the Commonwealth, that was absolutely wiped out a few months ago with no warning, by the way, while in a contract period, by the way, where we were supposed to be continuing to provide services and being paid by the Commonwealth. We never know what's going to happen with the 9C cuts. I think this issue as well is a communication issue. And I think that we need advocates who are strong to be able to bring forward to our legislature, people who have the ability to talk with our legislature, represent the needs of this city, represent the needs of the people in this community. And by the way, Rose, I don't know where you went off to, but I realized when you were talking about social services earlier, we have a need, a greater need today, more than ever before, to provide for social service programs in this community. And the 9C cuts, we don't know what's going to happen. It's a waiting game. We don't know what's going to happen. So I think, again, not having the magic wand to be able to say, oh, I'm going to generate revenue automatically. We're going to have a grant that's going to cover city services and social services here. We're going to be able to bring in new business to this community because everybody's, flourishing in even these dire economic times. That's not the situation that we're in. Nobody really knows what the revenue projections are. I mean, we just had a $600 million shortfall in this Commonwealth. Is that going to trickle down to us in this community? Yes, it is. Absolutely. Do we have to have people who are going to speak loudly and advocate for Malden with the legislator? Yes, we do.
Time.
I'm one of those people.
Sorry, can I ask a follow-up?
Yes, you may. Deb, follow up to you.
So then, having been through cuts, what steps would you actually take now to prepare yourself for that, not knowing what's going to come next?
Communication, education, getting out in the community and really drawing from people's support. Working with the community, collaborating with the community, getting out to the community and asking for their ideas, actually walking along the campaign trail and learning about what different people have for ideas to generate revenue here. It's unbelievable. And it's their voices that haven't really been heard. Some of them feel, again, ignored, as I mentioned earlier. I think that we need to garner the ideas of community members, garner the activism, and energize people in the community so that we all know that our voice counts. Every one of our voices counts. And we can speak loudly if we have loud advocates with the legislature and with the governor's office. And that's how Portal to Hope's funding was returned just a month ago, because we spoke up and persisted and advocated for vulnerable Malden community members. And they heard us. And that's the voice that I'm going to be able to bring on the Malden City Council should you elect new leadership on November 3rd. Thank you.
The next question is for David D'Arcangelo.
Good day.
Hello, Ken.
There are about 2,000 to 2,500 people who want to get home care but can't get it because of the state actions. We know that home care costs less than nursing homes, and we also know that senior citizens prefer it greatly over nursing homes. Can Malden as a city do what some other cities do and encourage home care here?
Yes, we definitely can. And I've spoken with Dan O'Leary. Dan is the executive director of the Mystic Valley Elder Services, and they do a great job. I would actually advocate for that if I was elected your city councilor at large on your behalf. And we can do that. And that's actually a great way you can save money and maximize services. And again, I have experience doing that because I'm on 2 boards. I'm on a leadership position on 2 boards, one appointed by the governor, the Massachusetts Commission of the Blind Rehabilitation Council, where we deal with just that issue. And I'm also on the board of directors for eMark, which is one of the largest human service providers in this area that also deals with that issue, coming into homes and making sure that people have supportive services, Meals on Wheels, health care, all the things that goes along with being independent in your home. I believe that's how people should age in place like that. If they have their home, why should we try to displace them? We should try to be encouraging them and doing all we can to make sure that they can age in place properly. All right? So I have that experience. That's why I need your vote this Tuesday. You have 3 votes. I'm looking for one of them. Okay? And again, it goes back to the experience, the ideas, and the approach. My approach is to involve people like Ken and, quite frankly, the other city councils and build consensus with them. Let's work together here. I agree with Deb. We have so much talent in this community. If we can just tap into it and go forward in the right way, we can do it. We can change anything. The thing that frustrates me most about this campaign is you go around and I hear from people that say, oh, but it's Malden. I don't accept that. We can do better here. We have a lot going for us. We have some challenges, too. I want to work on both the challenges and the opportunities. Thank you, Ken.
Follow up? Okay, the next question will be back to Craig Spadafora.
In light of the recent problems at Treasury, the missing $500,000, there has been preliminary talk in the council about looking for a new bank with which to transact municipal business. And I'm wondering, Council President, at this point, if that's something that you think you would support.
Well, I don't know if it's an opportunity or the pleasure to actually be part of that investigation. When they keep on saying missing $500,000, we know it's not missing, ladies and gentlemen. It's gone. It was stolen by a rogue employee. Speaking with the police department, with the city officials, if somebody's going to steal something, whether it's your home, items from your home, a car, or somebody working at a bank, if you have a rogue employee, you could never stop that. What happened in the city council was there was some deficiencies in our system. We did catch that person. We were alluded to it. The $500,000 was missing, but we knew somebody stole the money. The investigation was, when you have a budget of $153 million, I want everybody to realize this. There's always a certain accountability that it's like balancing a checkbook. There's money that rolls over quarter to quarter. It's not missing. It's an old bill that wasn't paid in this quarter. And it was slowly building up, and the accountants knew there was a deficiency. They told our city officials there was a deficiency. We started the investigation, and before we could finish the investigation, the police department was alerted of somebody trying to cash illicit checks. They watched that individual, they followed that individual, they caught that individual. That person was fired immediately. So the money wasn't missing as much as it was stolen. There's a big difference. What have we done since? We've brought in forensic accountants to look at our accounts. We've changed our procedures. We've looked at personnel changes. We've looked at banking relationships. Everything we could do from a standpoint of a city, I can never sit up here and say it will never happen again, because I cannot. If somebody wants to steal something, ladies and gentlemen, they're going to steal it. The question is, are they going to get caught? And I can equivocally say right now, in that department, we are doing everything we can, from software updates to personnel moves to looking at hiring additional personnel to Travis looking at banking relationships. We feel the bank should have been a little bit more tighter with their controls. They said it's the city's fault. So we are actively looking at a bank relationship. That's something that's going on right now that I've been advocating. It doesn't happen overnight. You have to move over payroll systems. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a follow-up? No. Our next media panel question will be for Jeff Donahue.
What do you feel in your mind is the best solution for reuse of the old Malden library? The old Malden hospital.
The old Malden Hospital. Well, we've seen a variety of plans in the beginning. Now it appears that I believe it was Deaconess Hospital that was up there. I'm not sure of the exact name, but that's fallen off the map because they can't get funding. It's 11 acres. It's a big site. The neighbors up there are very leery. They're very, very leery of blasting. This was a bone of contention in the last campaigns a couple of years back about possibility of blasting up there. The neighbors came down in force. I think you have to go with what the neighbors are looking for up there to protect their neighborhood. It's zoned, I believe it's zoned for a hospital, but if it reverts back to the original zoning, it's Residence A, which allows 1- and 2-family houses. There's a lot of money to be made up there. The hospital has paid nothing for that for the past 50 years. They didn't pay any taxes. They made a ton of money off the people of the citizens of Malden, and then they walked away from us. I think it's time not to pay it back, but to make sure that we put a buffer zone between the hospital and our constituents to make sure that they're protected up there. It's time to protect us from them. They might have taken care of us health-wise for 50 years, but when times got tough and you had to put your nose to the grindstone, they left us high and dry. And they said there weren't enough bodies to fill the beds. I beg to differ with that. So my opinion is I would go with Residence A up there, Residence A or A and B, 1- and 2-family homes. That's what fits into that neighborhood. When you do a zone change up there, it can't be more detrimental to the neighborhood. Anything bigger than that would be more detrimental to the neighborhood. You see the meetings we had, the neighbors that came out, they're very, very leery of what could happen up there. The city needs to step up and ensure that the citizens are protected up there. And if I'm elected to the city council, I've always done that in the past, and I would continue to do that. Thank you.
Is there a follow-up question from our panel? No.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah,
There is.
I'd like
Thank
to
you.
follow up on that. My understanding is that the hospital in Malden no longer is a viable place. Is that correct?
That the hospital is no
longer viable. It can't be used anymore.
Why can't it be used?
I'm asking you.
I don't see why.
I understand the building has been ruined.
Well, they did a lot of demo up there. They have used it as a movie set. But you know what? The hospital doesn't own it anymore. Deaconess does now. So whether they choose to come to the community and open a hospital would totally be up to them. And I don't think realistically that's going to happen. They're going to look at their budget and look at the numbers and say, hey, we're not going to come to Malden and build a hospital because they're going to try and show it that it's going to cost them too much to build it and they're not going to make enough money. They're going to do anything they can to scurry away from the project that failed up there because they took, I believe, 50% of the deposits down and they had to give them all back. They spent a ton of money on advertising, so they're behind the 8 ball right now. Let's be realistic. They're not going to come here and build a hospital. Do I think there's a need for it? Absolutely. But again, you have to protect what's there. Moving forward, we can't force them to build something on their property. But we can definitely ensure that they build what we want and what fits into our community, that fits into the neighborhoods.
Time. Just as a follow-up, it was going to be an independent assisted living facility, and it has reverted back to Hallmark. The next question will be for Brian O'Boyle.
Mr. O'Boyle, The state has made a good deal of money available in the existing budget for regionalization efforts, exploration of regionalization. Are there things that Malden should be looking at as far as regionalization, and what are they?
Could you define regionalization? I'm not familiar with that term.
Working together with other communities.
Okay. Well, we've had a great program that was put together down at River's Edge, and that seems to be getting off the ground after a long awaited start. What we need to do is we need to be able to partner up with the private sector, have them bring their expertise to the marketplace with their money, and start to build on the sites that are currently existing, both as River's Edge and in the downtown area. Mr. Lucy said that the citizens didn't want high-rise buildings in Malden Square. Residential housing doesn't work right now. Single-family homes won't work up at the Malden Hospital site, primarily because there's no money in it. Right now, there is more foreclosures happening in this area, Malden, Medford, and the surrounding towns, than in the past maybe 15, 20 years. I was at a seminar yesterday, and there's over $156 billion worth of mortgages that are over 90 days in arrears. So what we need to do is focus on building out the commercial end of our infrastructure, whether that's converting the downtown a building where the City Hall is into a hotel, or it's taking some of these other buildings in town and converting them to transit villages where people don't have to drive in order to get to work.
But as far as regionalization among communities working together and sharing resources, are there opportunities for Malden to be able to do that? Not private business, but communities working together.
I don't see how that would happen. We have, in the past, we've had mutual aid with the fire departments, those type of things. They work in the event of a tremendous emergency. However, if you're a firefighter in Medford and you're fighting a fire in Malden and you get hurt on that fire, who's responsible for covering your insurance? Or in the event of your death, who's responsible for covering the people that are left behind? I don't see that actually is a possibility.
Thank you.
Next question is for Greg Lucy.
Hi. Executive sessions in the legislature, there are certain times when they're needed. They're needed personnel matters, and they're needed sometimes in negotiations. But outside of those two situations, why can't we have all the sessions of the legislature, of the council? Why can't we have them open and have no more executive sessions?
Just so people are aware, executive session isn't something we go to hide from anybody or just talk amongst ourselves to get something done. There's certain rights, and I'll go back to what Council Spadafore was saying about that treasurer incident and the treasurer's office. There's probably nothing that I can remember in the city that has been as bad as that. Someone stealing $500,000. Unfortunately, what they did was, fortunately, they caught the people that were responsible, but they were, but in the second phase of that was we had to look at the treasurer's office itself. It's unfair, and people do have rights, so that's why it's executive session. Negotiations, you certainly don't want in public. I don't think either side of the negotiation wants them in public. Other than that, our meetings are very public, and one of the words that it's certainly outlived its time probably is transparency in government. I mean, usually there's buzzwords in politics. Usually they last about 6 months, 9 months. That one seems to have been around for a long time. And, I got to tell you, we do everything public now. I'm a member of the Citizen Engagement Committee. More than ever, we're out in the community. We're doing mural projects that we got a bunch of kids with outreach to the schools. So all our meetings are public. The council meeting we don't have, like the school committee has, that you actually have a public comment section. Only because it would, on the council level, you could get everybody and anybody if they want to start complaining about street walks and sidewalks and that sort of thing. We hear you, but the thing is, do you want every Tuesday to hear the same thing? That's why you have ward councilors. I think no matter who's elected up here, all the current city councilors, they're very we all can be found either by where we work, where we live, telephone numbers. We'll take your cause to where it has to go. But executive session isn't something we do by design to keep from people, but there's certain rights that other individuals have that they're entitled to get a fair discussion in closed session, and that's all that is. And they're few and far in between, to be honest with you. We hardly have executive sessions. You know, just so happened that incident there was a few more than normal.
Is there a follow-up? Nope. The next media question will be for Deb Fallon.
No more questions. We can all go home. I could answer almost every one of the questions that was just asked.
Please hold on for a moment. Does the media panel have any more questions? Okay, thank you.
Hi. You know, you'd mentioned in your opening remarks during the first hour that law enforcement is your forte. It's something that your family has a rich history in terms of locally participation. I was at a few of the neighborhood crime prevention meetings at the different ward meetings this summer, and a few of the residents had voiced concerns about response time from the police in terms of when they say, well, I see possible criminal activity over here, I see possible drug activity over here, and the dispatcher on the other line, well, they didn't take my concerns as seriously as I would have liked. What would you say to that in terms of your perspective on the way law enforcement works in Malden? Would you say that that's something, as a counselor, that you'd be concerned about, or is it something that's, you know, just a sort of aberration, you know, people kind of venting their frustrations at the meetings?
No, I don't think people are just venting frustrations. I think that these things are going on. I think that there's some dissension. I think that we need to be supporting our law enforcement as well as having expectations of them. We've got a crime rate here. I don't know if any of you received the telephone calls about the robberies. I know a couple of my neighbors did. I didn't get that call. There are problems in this community that have to be addressed, and the police, I think, are doing the best that they can to address it. When we have lower manpower, we can't get out there. We have to be able to provide for our public safety workers and work to increase their manpower, whether it's through grant opportunities or what have you. But with respect to your question, Travis, and talking about community interaction with the police, I run an award-winning model program that's a law enforcement program. I would like to introduce to this community a crime prevention group that I'd like to have replicated, and we've been talking with people door to door about this. The neighborhood crime meetings, by the way, they only came about in the last month and a half. The only violence prevention and crime prevention safety meetings that this community has seen since 1999 are the ones run by Portal to Hope, the Malden Police, and Portal to Hope, the Malden Police, and the Malden Fire Department. And we've run those types of programs up at the high school, up at the Malden Public Library. We've run them in at the senior centers, at housing. So the crime prevention group that I'd like to offer to the public, and have been talking about people, and people are receptive to it, because these are the people that have been calling for the neighborhood crime meetings that you've attended and I've attended, Travis. Everett has a program on site at the police department where they invite the public in once a month. And it's helped significantly to crack down on crime there, because people are communicating with the police, learning what's going on in the community, and the police are communicating with them. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there a follow-up question? No. Our next question is for David D'Arcangelo.
Are you in favor of an immigration reform bill that provides a path to citizenship?
Yes, I am. And I'd like to use the remainder of my time to tell you a little bit about what I've been doing in the community, okay? If you go all the way back to 2003 and 2005, this very podium, I built this very podium, and I produced and sponsored the debates in 2003, 2005, if anybody saw those on MATV. So I've been active in this community for a long time, sponsoring T-ball, giving money to all different organizations. I've raised and spent the most money in this campaign, and I haven't just used it all for myself for my campaign. I've given a lot of it away, a very significant amount away, both of my time and of my efforts, supporting groups, showing up at all kinds of different events, and giving them money as well to try to support it. I love Malden. We have a lot of great things going on here. We also have some challenges, and I have a unique set of experiences to help Malden. Our economy right now is at a crossroads. nationally, on the state level, and on the local level. I have the experience from working with 5 other cities and towns working on the $27 billion state budget. I have those experiences. I want to put them to work for you. Quickly, about the Malden Hospital, I've heard that mentioned a bunch of times. I was born at the Malden Hospital. My uncle delivered me there. My uncle Frank Stella was one of the founding people at the Malden Hospital in terms of the maternity ward up there. So, and I was on the planning board when the decision was made to change it over. It was going to be a nice assisted care setting where there was going to be some independent, some assisted care. It was going to have the whole continuum of care. There was going to be a dementia unit up there. It was my provision. I sat there. We sat there until 1 o'clock in the morning, and I was the one pushing that if that particular use didn't go in place, that they would have to go back and that special permit would have to be redone. So now ensuring that whatever's going to be done up there, the city will have another opportunity to make sure that it's what the residents want up there. I had a lot to do with that. So again, I have the experience here in Malden. I want to put that to work for you.
Thank you. Is there a follow-up? No. Okay. The next question will be for Craig Spatafora.
Counselor, if you could create one new position in city government, what would it be, and from where inside the existing city budget would you get the money?
I wouldn't want to create, on the record, I wouldn't want to create any new city positions. I think, honestly, where the city needs to become very efficient is IT, information technology. Right now we have information technology. There'll be one for the fire department, there will be one for the police department, and the school department. Consolidate them into one unit, and then use the city's buying power and the scalability to have all their information put in one system. So a councilor could be at their house, we could go to City Hall, we want to pull up an address, hit a button, have all that. That would be the job I would create, and then you would have an IT director, and underneath that IT director I would have 3 or 4 managers. I'm sure we could find the money in there as far as changing some ordinances on pay raises and pay grades to create that position. I think you need one position for that. I know the school department has their own, the fire, the police, and City Hall. So there's 4 information technology systems. I believe you need one for scalability. To answer a couple of the follow-up questions, on regionalization, it is becoming a big topic. In the Northeast, we have very little of it. If you look down in Florida, California, they have districts. Miami-Dade County, they have county government. They have county fire department, county police department, school districts. When they mean regionalization, that's what we're for. Malden is somewhat collaborative in doing something like that when they open the fire station and overlook with it's on Malden and Revere. If anybody listened to talk radio yesterday, Mayor Dolan and Melrose was on there looking to do that. I think it's going to become, in the next 10 years, you will start seeing regionalization on city services because you share the cost. You have one police chief, one fire chief, one school district. It might go across the board. We have one city council for certain communities. Am I in favor of that? Absolutely. And I think the state is starting to encouraging that talk. Is it hard to do? Absolutely. But I think you have to start looking towards the future. On the hospital, I live right down the street from the hospital. I was involved in every ward meeting there with the councilor. Every meeting. I went to the planning board meeting. The ordinance that Mr. D'Arcangelo was talking about wasn't his provision. It's an ordinance. It has to resort back to Residence A. The question now is, if you live near there, do you want houses? Some residents don't want that. The bigger question is...
Thank you. Is there a follow-up? No. The next question will be for Jeff Donahue.
There are many organizations in this area in Malden. Mass Senior Action Council is one of them. To what extent should the City Council go out of its way to consult with these organizations on matters that they might be interested and might be valuable for the City Council?
I believe on all of them. Every organization has a different role in the community. I mean, you folks, you remember when we were fighting up with the Heritage on the rent increases up there. We had them come down. We had Congressman Markey's office send somebody down. We tried to work on a solution up there. That wouldn't have been brought to the forefront if it wasn't for Malden Senior Action Committee. It just wouldn't have. You know, we tried to do some creative things at City Hall where we would have taken some of the money, helped them out with the taxes, but by the time it worked its way through the process and the vouchers started coming in, half the tenants had moved out already. Too late. Too little, too late. So I think there's a role at the table for everyone. You know, there's so many organizations that are in this community, nonprofit groups, school groups, community groups, just people that want to get involved. And we need to take that. You look at how many people came out with this one issue, pay as you throw. How many folks came out that hadn't been out of their house in 20 years to get involved in an issue? It's very, very important. And once we stop taking the voice of the community, I think we've lost focus on democracy. And that's one thing that I never did when I was on the city council. I understood my role. That's why you see my sign, your voice, your choice. I understand that. I am your mouthpiece. And once we've gone from that, we don't have any position sitting in that seat anymore. I would do this job for free. You know, there's some money for you. Listen, I'll pay the city council. But, you know, it's good. You see a group like this come out. We had debates a few years ago where we had 10 people there. 10 people to come out for a debate. It took one issue to get people off their couches, and that's unfortunate. I really think the people should really stay focused and start asking the tough questions. Keep an eye on what's going on in the community. Hold people accountable. And that would be my answer.
Is there a follow-up question?
Yes.
Please.
Mass Senior Action Council is very much involved in certain things. One of them is home care, and related to that is health care. Would the City Council be interested in discussing with us various proposals to improve the situation in Malden, which I don't think is very good right now with respect to health care and home care?
Well, first off, you'd have to endorse me and get me up there as a city councilor, and I could bring that discussion to the table. I would hope they would. I would really hope they would. And you know, to their credit, the councilors that are here this evening, a lot of the things that we've talked about tonight when I was on the council, they weren't there. So they can't wear this coat, you know. But it's always been inclusive up there. I'm sure if you had an issue that they would bring you up there, somebody would sponsor you. There's committee meetings. You just have to find the vehicle to get you in front of the committee that you need to get in front of on that specific issue. And, you know, everyone on the council has a role, has a chairmanship. Everyone's a different chairman of a different committee. You find out where you need to be, and you get in front of that committee. I have never seen them say no to somebody that wanted to come up and talk about an issue. I mean, there's been outbursts in the chamber where people have been shut off, but that's a whole different thing. So I would encourage you, if there's something that you folks need to move forward, yes, talk to the council president, find out which committee it should go to, and move forward with it. And I'd be willing to stand there with you folks.
Time. Thank you. The next question will be for Brian O'Boyle.
Wondering at this point how you would rate the city's stewardship of the renovation process at Malden High School at this point, and if you were elected to the council, what would you do to make sure that project was finished on time, on budget, on schedule, especially during the current fiscal challenges the city's facing?
That's a great question. I'd give it a D-. I think that the renovation of the high school is an embarrassment. If you had gone to the high school prior to the work actually being done there, I happened to coach a wrestling team there for youths, and we had people from other cities come in, and it was embarrassing. We didn't even have the electricity to turn the lights on in the morning. Now that we have the project ongoing, I was watching the council meeting on TV the other day. Councilor Anderson said we have one carpenter as a union rep, working for the union that actually is on that project. It's a $77 million project, and we have one carpenter in the union actually working there. When we asked for accountability, he gave us the runaround and said that we had to wait for the payroll to come in. Well, having been a union mason myself, I know all you have to do is contact the business agent. He knows how many of his people are on the job. Right now, I understand that we don't have enough room even for the kids that want to go there. We've gotten rid of a tremendous amount of the vocational programs. We've got one vocational program left at the high school. What does that mean to us? What that means to us is if a student wants to go to the high school for vocational education and we don't have the program for him, that student has the right to apply to any regional school around this area, and the city has to pay not only to put them there, but to transport them there, up to as much as $18,000 per student. Right now, it costs roughly about $9,000, between $9,000 and $10,000 to educate a student in the Malden school system. We had a great teacher that ran the carpentry program there. They laid him off. Well, they gave him part-time. He couldn't support his family with it, so he went over to Everett, where they hired him full-time. When we went to call him back, he said, it's too late. I went to another job. So I just think that it's been mishandled. in order to get accountability from people,
you
have to have a buy-when, and we're not getting that.
Thank you. Is there a follow-up? There is a follow-up. Thank you.
You just mentioned there's not enough space at the high school currently for all the students that want to attend there.
That's correct.
I'm curious where that bit of information came from. My understanding was there was so much space that they were looking to scale the building down.
Maybe you're talking about physical space. I'm talking about the number of students in the actual classrooms. Right now, we're not giving the teachers enough support. We've taken away a lot of their paraprofessionals, so they don't have the actual support to support the amount of students that actually want to take their classes.
The next question will be for Greg Lucy.
What do you feel the relationship should be between the school committee and the city council?
Well, you're talking to an old school committee guy. Actually, that's one of the things. While I was on the school committee, I was kind of the liaison with the council at the time, because having been around a little bit, and knew the makeup of the council, I would actually give them information. It's two separate bodies, but it shouldn't be two separate things. I mean, you got a school system that no one's going to come to the city of Malden if people don't think the public schools are doing well. So you can't just go off to the city council and just say, okay, I'm just going to worry about city issues like, the streets and sidewalks, the ordinance, the laws, and things like that. The schools play such a huge part of the city. You have to know both. That's probably why, myself, maybe I need to get a better life, but, I'll sit home on a Monday and watch a school committee meeting. Just because things change so much in the schools, it's good to keep up with what's going on. So, I played both roles. And actually, when I got on the council, I thought that having sat there for 6 years, I always looked at the school department. You shouldn't just look at the number, X amount of dollars. There are so many programs and so many kids in that system that unless you don't know they're there, you won't even know they exist. I mean, there's kids that 20, 30 years ago, they didn't educate these kids. But today we do, and we should. So, and I always say, if anyone wants to see the public schools, take the time to, see if you can get into a school. See some of the kids. And some of it's heartbreaking. I mean, you have a city that's in transition that, some of the family structure and some of the family lives of these kids makes it very difficult thing for those kids to succeed. So that's why we give those kids an education. And yeah, the schools can do better. We know they can, but I always say, just don't look at an MCAS score. Find out what that MCAS score is. We have loads of kids that English isn't even in their first language. You need to know that. You need to know the makeup of the city in order to make good decisions even on the council. And by doing that, by sitting on the school committee, what I did was I saw firsthand the families in Malden. Thank you.
Thank you. Follow-up? No. The next question will be for Deb Fallon.
Crime was talked a little bit earlier. I just wanted to follow up on that. Perception among many city residents is that crime is actually rising in the city, though calls for service, according to the police as of today, are lower than they actually were last year and are trending lower. How can the city council promote a more accurate picture of what's actually going on?
That's a great question, because it came up in the crime prevention or the neighborhood crime meetings, and they're even amongst the patrol officers. That's where I'm mentioning dissension. They disagreed with what was reported. That's in fact why a $500,000 grant was not awarded to the city of Malden for the police department, because the numbers were not accurate. I think that. I think, again, we have to be able to work together as a community. I think we have to not just take a negative attitude toward the police because their response time is slower. If their response time is slower, isn't that an indication maybe that crime might be up or that they're responding to an increased number of incidents? I've walked down every street in this community twice, and I'm going around a third time right now. In every single neighborhood, people are telling me about their homes being broken into, their cars being broken into. Again, there are calls being made by the police department in Malden to inform people, or at least a select group of people who register for that program, about crime that's being committed. With the call the other night or last week was about robberies. I don't believe, and I don't know if any of you are with me here, I don't believe crime has decreased in Malden. I work with crime victims. There were 358 crime victims in this community that Portal to Hope served last year. We were at 227 Malden residents by March, from January through March. Right now we're up to 602 people who've been victimized in Malden by violent crime. And although our number one crime in this community is burglaries and theft, the leading form of violent crime still committed in this community today is domestic violence, even with the recidivism.
Thank you. And our final candidate question will be for David D'Arcangelo.
How can Malden compete for more stimulus money from the United States government?
That's a really good question, Ken. Right now, we have two projects that are ongoing, one over at the Ferryway, and then there's another one. If I had my notes, I could look into it. But we did get two of those, and if more stimulus funding becomes available, actually one of the benefits, and Jeff, you might kill me on this, is the fact that we have a redevelopment authority able to work on those programs. So I look at it as a strength. Just because other communities don't have a redevelopment authority doesn't mean that it's not a good thing. Now, can they be reformed? Yeah, we can agree on some reform, but I think that's a good thing. So if more stimulus money becomes available, we're positioned well to be able to do it. And quite frankly, one of the things that we could do is use it on my steps idea. There's 100 other good ideas that I've put out there all along. I think I've put out the most ideas of any of the candidates here. Okay, they're all available on my website, davidformalden.com. That's www.davidformalden.com. You can see them all. All of you reporters have covered all my questions. I've been putting press releases out a couple of weeks sometimes, okay? So I have the experience, ideas, and approach, whatever money becomes available on the state or federal level, to implement it. I have experience doing that in other communities. Shortly after 9/11, a fund became available. What did we do? The people that were on the plane that came from Wakefield, we built a park for them with that money over in Wakefield. I was on the board that did that, and I used my connections in the state senate to leverage state money to make sure to do it. So now at Lake Quannapowitt, there's a beautiful park up there to remember those folks who were on the plane that went into the towers. So I have the experience, approach, and ideas to be able to get it done for you, all right? So in closing here, I just want to remind you to get out and vote Tuesday, November 3rd. You have 3 votes for City Council at large. I'm asking for one of them. I think my experience, my ideas, and my approach, any one of those is worthy of your vote. So you put them all together, and I'm looking for your vote, again, on Tuesday, November 3rd. It's David D'Arcangelo running for City Council at large. I want to be sure to thank the Mass Senior Action Council, the rest of the panel, and quite frankly, all the candidates for a good campaign. Thank you.
And now we will go to our closing statements. Craig Spadafora, each candidate has 2 minutes.
Thank you. I want to thank everybody, like David said, Mass Senior House Action Committee, Healthy Malden, the residents, my family for letting me walk around the city and taking time out of my family life. But more importantly, I want to thank the residents of Malden who put faith in me to be not only the City Council at large, but also City Council President this year, and my colleagues. I think what you have to realize right now, ladies and gentlemen, is the picture is bleak. And what we need up there is somebody who has experience, which I do, somebody who's looking to streamline operations, which I'm willing to do. We should, I implore the people in this room, the way you get better neighborhoods and cut down on crime and all the little things that will make Malden, continue to make Malden a great neighborhood, is get involved. I've been a member of the Holiday Parade Committee. We've done neighborhood sweeps with organizations. You have a lot of neighborhood groups that are now getting together and doing that. Roll up your sleeve and get involved. That's what will make Malden a better community. Have I done that? Absolutely. It takes more than writing a check to make Malden a better neighborhood. I don't think money is the answer. I think hard work is the answer. Same thing with crime. If you help us catch the criminals, we will catch the criminals, ladies. We had somebody who was tagging, which is spray painting, in Ward 1. It took 3 weeks, phone calls and emails, and we caught that individual. Not because of city councilors, not because of the Malden police, because of residents. We have to be empowered by you. We can only do what the residents ask us to do. Look ahead to in the future. Housing development, great. Problem is, we have to make room in our schools for the school children. Our schools right now are full. Nobody here will deny that. We keep on building, whether it's a single family, two family, or a tower, we have to make sure we have rooms in the schools. Right now we do not. We have to look at regionalization. Customer service. Somebody hangs up on them. I don't care if that's a police officer, a fire official, another city councilor. We should be held accountable. There are certain aspects I think you have to take from the private sector and employ inside the public sector. Not everything, some of the things. Customer service is the first thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Jeffrey Donahue.
Thank you. Again, thank you for everyone here today for A, coming out, and B, putting this on. This is great. And thank you to all the candidates for the campaign. It has been a good campaign. And if I haven't knocked on your door, I want to humbly apologize. There's 7,000 or so homes in Malden. It's very hard to hit them all. You had a good chance today to take a snapshot of the folks that you want to run your community. And when I say run your community, I'm not saying run your life. I'm talking about run the city government. Again, your voice up there running the city government. It should be pretty clear today. I answered every single question that was asked of me and stuck to the issue of the question. I know Malden City Government very well. I was up there for 8 years. I said earlier, chairman of several committees, council president, 2004. I think that's what we're looking for right now. The last couple of years, do you like the direction the city's going in? And it's not up here to cast blame on anyone, but you need people that are up there that are willing to hold people accountable, hold their feet to the fire, and ask the tough questions, good, bad, or indifferent. I did it for 8 years. It probably cost me my job in the last election. Most folks would have rolled up their top and went home. That's not what I'm all about. You know what? You're not going to stifle my voice by voting me out. I'm going to come back and I'm going to run at large because I think I bring a lot more to the table than some of the candidates here. You know, you can talk about all the issues that we talked about today. The biggest position I would put in the city and how I would pay for it is a grant writer. We had one here years ago that brought in millions and millions of dollars. Prorate it and pay it on a percentage base on what you bring in. You'd be surprised at how much money we'd bring in if we actually went out and looked for it. There's a lot of money to be had. The crime statistics, we could spend 8 hours talking about that tonight. I think they've been played with, and if I'm wrong, sue me for defamation of character. I don't think I'm wrong. I have pretty good information that they've been played with. Crime is not down. Crime is up. We have a prominent member of the police department that had his house broken into this weekend. We've had 6 shootings in the last 8 weeks, 9 weeks. And the night we had this big public safety meeting, they put on a great show and put officers at every corner. There's 3 officers on the street on a Friday night for a city of 57,000. We need a grant writer. I would ask you to come out on November 3rd and vote for Jeff Donahue and move your agenda forward for the city of Malden. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next candidate will be Brian O'Boyle.
Thank you, Kevin. I'd like to thank the Malden Senior Action Council and all you folks for coming out and for all you people that are viewing it on TV. As I had said earlier, Malden's in a very, very perilous course right now. A lot of the candidates tonight talked about getting additional money, whether it's stimulus money or whether it's more money out of the state. The news is there is no more money from the state. Don't look at me. It wasn't here when I got here. The only way that we're going to move the city forward is to bring in private money. And the only way we're going to do that is if we can attract those people and those investors to want to invest their money in Malden. This past summer, there was a great article that came out in the Globe. Malden, #1 city to live in. Did everyone see that? Okay. The next week, there was another article that came out about how the police had a quota on how many people they were going to pull over. Did you all see that? Yeah? It's a perception problem. You have to realize we have Boston prices for construction and Malden rents, both commercially and residentially. This is not a good thing. What we need to do is we need to have people on the city council that can go out to the private sector and propose to organizations, whether they're universities or biotech or stem cell research, and show them why coming to Malden is the place to be. Right now, none of these people have this type of experience. They're behind you. They're great people. They just don't have the experience. I do. What I'm looking for is for you to vote for me on November 3rd. Tuesday's coming. You can make a change now. Tuesday's coming. Please come out.
The next candidate will be Greg Lucy.
Thank you. I also, to be a little redundant, would like to thank everybody. It is impressive that this many people would come out. I think one of the frustrating parts in government, and it gets back to the question about executive sessions and being public, is we are a very public place. Unfortunately, a lot of times we don't get the public response to it. when I was chairman of the Finance Committee, I actually did a public meeting this year on the budget. I bet if I had 12 people, it was a lot. So we do have things going on. We do listen to the public when you come out, and certainly this is impressive, this many people that came out for this. I would like to thank the other 5 individuals running for council large. I almost think when the councilors from the wards take most of the brunt. They get most of the calls. They get most of the, the phone calls. And council large, we get them when we know the people. The payback is when we try to run citywide. It's a huge undertaking. It's a financial undertaking. It takes an awful lot of time from your family, and we have our own personal lives, so we do it. We do it because if you ask any one of these people, for the love of community, we're people that we're staying, we're not leaving. Even if we're not successful, I don't think you're going to see anyone here get up and leave to the next town over. So we care about the community. That's why we do it. My tradition from my family goes back a long way in Malden. I'm proud to say, there was an article in the Globe about political families, but I think we're more than political families. I think we do social things. We're not just people that run for office. I didn't run for office till I was 42. Certainly if you listen to the some of the reporters, but just by my name alone, I probably could have ran 20 years ago and won, but it wasn't the right time. So we go back a long way. I didn't just start, as I'm running to get involved with certain things. My whole adult life, if it wasn't involved with a Little League, if it wasn't involved with the Kiwanis, if it wasn't involved with the Malden Democratic Committee, I can go on and on. I've been involved with the community for my adult life, and not just writing checks and not writing political checks, writing personal checks, but more important, giving your time. That's what it's all about. That's how you make a community better. So next Tuesday, I hope you vote for me. One of your 3 votes. Another advantage of running council large.
Thank you. The next candidate is Deborah Fallon.
Thank you. Thanks again for coming out and sharing your time with us. I appreciate the panel members and the other councilors and the other candidates, I should say, running for councilor at large. The bottom line, what you need to know about me is I am an advocate. I've worked hard for 14 years running a nonprofit organization in this community, serving vulnerable community members. I have a reputation in this community of advocating for the underdog, and that's exactly what I plan to do on the council. I have to teach people who are crime victims how to use their voice of courage every day. I better do that myself. I'd be a hypocrite, and I have a wonderful family background. There's no way I'm going to do that a disservice, because that's how I know contribution to community. I love this community. We can ensure that Malden is the best community for us to live in, for anyone to live in. That's why we're all here today, because we care. There's no one who is going to speak louder on the council than me. I guarantee it. I know how to advocate for people. I know how to bring the grassroots voice to government. And that's what I'm promising to do for you. I'm asking for you to please give me a chance. Give me the opportunity by casting one of your 3 votes for me next Tuesday on the 3rd September. I'm thinking of the preliminary. On November 3rd. Please cast one of your 3 votes for me on that day. Give me the opportunity, please, to advocate for you in city government. No one's going to work harder trying to bring your voice to the table. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Final candidate, David Darkangelo.
I went to my first public meeting when I was 8 years old. I worked on my first political campaign when I was 10 years old. My dad was a very esteemed public servant. He had letters of commendation from President Reagan, from 6 different governors. He was the clerk of the state's appellate tax board for 28 years. So public service is in my family too. It's a part of my legacy, and it's in my blood, and it's my passion, and that's why I've dedicated my career to it. I have the most experience, okay, working for you, because I've done it. I've done it for 4 different governors. I've done it for our state senator, Richard Tassay, and I've gotten involved with all of the technical administration of government behind the scenes, working for 5 cities and towns, working on the $27 billion state budget. I can work for you here on the Malden City Council very well. I'm looking for your vote based on my experience, my ideas, and my approach. I'm looking for your vote. It's David Darkangelo. I'm running for city councilor at large. I've put everything I've had into this campaign. I have to be sure to thank my wife and thank my family and everybody on my committee, and most especially you folks out there. I've knocked on 6,200-something doors in this city, spent a lot of time, a lot of effort. I wouldn't have done that if I didn't have a passion for Malden. We have so many great things going on here in Malden, but we have some challenges too. I want to strengthen the things that are good, and the challenges that we need to work on, I can work on that behind the scenes for you because I have that experience, okay? So again, it's David D'Arcangelo. I'm running for City Councilor at Large. I need your vote this Tuesday, November 3rd. If anybody needs a ride to the polls, you can contact me at my home number, 324-5949, or go to my website, davidformalden.com. Again, I want to thank the panel, thank all the candidates. Kevin, Ron, you've done a great job here. Thank you.
This concludes the Metro North Mass Senior Action Council 2009 Malden Candidates Forum. The co-sponsors Healthy Malden and Malden Access